I have here a layout I've made with a simple technique for a gradient. I can zoom in here so you can see how the dots in the background go from green to a brown and into white, and I've made those dots by utilizing a gradient. And so what I'm going to do first is turn off my dots so that we can recreate them. I'm going to go ahead and turn off these mats for right now also. And here's how I made this gradient. I have here a little circle which I made. Let's go ahead and make this, create a new layer. I'm going to turn that dot off. Get the elliptical marquee tool. I'm going to hold down my shift key so that my circle does not become an oval, and then I'm just going to draw this circle, make my foreground color black, get my paint bucket tool, and I've now created another little circle. I'm going to turn off, oops, wrong layer. I'm going to turn off the white background layer so I have some opacity, some transparent layer, I'm sorry, behind this. I'm going to go back and get my rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to draw a box around my circle. Go to the Edit drop-down menu, Define Pattern from Selection, click OK, and then deselect. What I'm going to do next is to click on the layer where I want my pattern to be above, and I'm going to observe my layout and decide where I want these dots to be. When I was deciding, I took into account the rule of thirds, and I eyed where about 1/3 and 1/3 of this photo would be. And so let's get your rectangular marquee tool again, and I simply eyed about 2/3 of that photo I was going to include, and I drew a selection where I want my dots to be applied. I'm going to create a new adjustment layer, pattern. It comes up with the last pattern that we used, and now you can see I have immediately dots there in the background. If you zoom in, you can see these dots are cut off, and so what I need to do is play with the scaling until I get the dots where I would like them to be. Kind of like the smaller dots. I've still got a problem here and here where the dots are cut off, so I'm going to manually try some various settings in here. Maybe, let's see, let's try 71. How about some 75, almost a little bit more, 78, and I think now it's cutting off the dots on the bottom row. Well, this is not working out quite as well as the first time, so I'm going to go back to that 78 and fix this another way. I see I have dots cut off over here. So what I'm going to do now is right click and simplify that layer, and to resolve this partial dot problem, I'm going to get my rectangular marquee tool and just draw and cut off with the delete button those dots that are partial dots and troublesome dots. Okay, now the next thing that needs to be done is to create your gradient, and here is a gradient that I have created. And when I made this gradient, you can watch the gradient tutorial for the basics, but I just want to show you carefully. When I chose the color stops and I brought up the color picker, I simply brought my mouse out to the desktop and I clicked around on this green until I got a color green that I thought I liked, and I did the same with this color stop, and I grabbed a color from this tree here. And so now I have my gradient as the active gradient. I'm going to hold down my control key and click on the thumbnail here in the layers palette until all of my dots have these marching ants around them. Now I'm going to apply my gradient simply by drawing a line across. Let's turn that background back on so you can see better. And if you notice, the white ones actually have a circle around them, and I found that if I went back and I applied the gradient a second time, I couldn't decide whether I liked those circles or not, but if I went back and applied this gradient a second time, you can see that the circles are not so prominent, and each time I did it and played with it, those went away. Sometimes I tested starting, way out here to see what it would look like, but you can see I didn't get enough white, and so I just continued to do this until I got faded into the background here with my dots. And so there is, let me go back to my original dots because I had them lined up with my background paper mat. So there is my layout and the technique, and I look forward to seeing what you can do with this simple technique. It really makes a little bit of a artisticness to a layout, and I'll be watching the forums. Thanks for watching.